In this video today, we wanted to break down some of the benefits that a buyer's agent might be able to give you as part of your next purchase. And we're going to actually use a live case study example of a client that we recently had a consultation with. We're going to break down where they are now, where they'd like to be, and see where we are able to add value as part of the transaction so you can see the benefit in real time that a buyer's agent may have to offer. So if you're currently just researching what buyer's agents do, then this is going to help. If you're contemplating whether or not you want to use a buyer's agent, then this is going to help. And if you are on the cusp of engaging with one, then this is only going to give you more insight as to how your next buyer's agent might be able to help you with your next purchase. Stick around. Hey, what's up guys? Troy Simbassini here, CEO and founder of Life Buyers Agency, where we help everyday Aussie legends just like you mitigate your downside risk and maximize your upside potential when purchasing residential real estate in our specialized locations in Queensland. In North Queensland, we have Tropical Life. In Central Queensland, we have Capricorn Life. In Southeast Queensland, we have Sunshine Life. And we take pride in our company ethos. We listen, we deliver. Let's go. So I wanted to talk about the story of a couple of clients we had a consultation with, I think the best part of 4 to 6 weeks ago now. And they did not proceed with the service, right? So full disclaimer, they did not proceed with the service. And look, it's totally their prerogative. We are not for everyone, different strokes for different folks. So that is completely okay. But what we wanted to do as part of this video is break down their situation, where they wanted to be, where they are now, and really unpack if we would have added value to the transaction. And we went through this process and we came to the same conclusion as what you'd see today. However, they still decided not to proceed. But I'm hoping today with this video you're going to really get some context around how we can come into the frame as buyers agents and help you as part of the transaction. So let's have a look. So the clients that we spoke with, they were a young couple, middle-aged, young professionals, and they were based in Sydney. So they're interstate. As you know, we provide on-ground services in various parts of Queensland. So they're interstate and what we'd call geographically challenged. They were pre-approved and basically ready to go. They also did mention that they have roughly around 4 weeks left on their pre-approval. So there might be some impact once that pre-approval lapses in terms of getting benchmarked against a new interest rate. So their borrowing capacity might reduce. So they were actually pretty stressed around, we wanted to potentially buy in the next 4 weeks. And in addition to that, they've probably been looking for the best part of 6 to 8 weeks prior to reaching out to us. So yeah, time was of the essence, and there was obviously, on top of that, a whole bunch of stress with having to sort of research and look for opportunities from Sydney when you're trying to buy in Queensland. But that's where they were, right? So they're pre-approved, ready to go. They're geographically challenged interstate, a young couple. And they wanted to buy an investment property, right? Remember, their strategy was largely around, we wanted to be positive cash flow, set and forget in a really good location. So a set and forget strategy, property that's positive cash flow in a good location somewhere in regional Queensland. And from memory, their budget was roughly $600,000. So $600,000 they wanted to buy an investment property. So when we went through the consultation process, as we do with every client, we basically established that, number one, they are interstate. So that means they're geographically challenged. So predominantly a lot of what geographically challenged buyers are doing is, looking through on-market listings, realestatedomain.com, and generally buying sight unseen. Or if you're a novice investor, most of them are sending what we'd probably say is a property manager out to do on-ground inspections sometimes for them. So you see a lot of investors do that. But yeah, these guys were doing a bunch of research online, trying to shortlist some suburbs, shortlist some properties, and then put offers in without actually being on the ground. So they were what we'd call sight unseen buyers. Geographically challenged, and it is very difficult to buy property when you are in another part of the country. The second thing we established was that they lacked time. So, as I said before, there were young, busy professionals in the corporate sector, living the high life in Sydney, but they lacked a lot of time. So, when a lot of their research did occur, that one might have been on their lunch breaks, on weekends, or after work hours, they're looking online, trolling through listings, and they've come to no avail because the 8 hours they've spent at work, right? People, listings have gone online, and by that time, when they finish work and jump online, that listing is chewed up, under contract, and gone in these, really hot markets where they wanted to buy. So, they lack time, and time is a really important factor when buying property. You obviously need time to go through the research component, inspect properties, and then go through the purchase process. So you need time. Another thing we established is that they didn't have an investment framework. By that, I mean they didn't have ways where they could, what we call, mitigate risk and maximize upside potential. So they didn't really have any key fundamentals they were sticking to. We have roughly 10 we use in-house at our agency in terms of how we can maximize the upside and mitigate risk, but they had no investment framework or fundamentals that they were sticking to when selecting the asset. So that the asset selection criteria was merely, this is our price point, this is our budget. We've heard about these few suburbs in this area. We just want to buy any old property within that suburb, but without doing further analysis or having an investment framework, they really lack that ability to pick an outperforming property, right? They, what we probably end up buying what we call investment stock and not an investment grade property. So they lacked an investment framework there for that matter. And the last thing we noticed is that they didn't have the ability to do any on-ground due diligence, right? I'm talking about suburb level due diligence, I'm talking about pocket level due diligence, street level due diligence, and then property level due diligence. So given that they're interstate, they're out of town, they didn't not only have the ability to do that, but they had no framework as to how they could get around mitigating risk and maximizing upside with the due diligence process. So I believe one of them did fly into that location, spent some time there, I think 1 or 2 days, and then left, but that alone is not enough to really get a grasp on the marketplace and those key pockets and those really good streets, and then get a grip on what are the better quality assets that exist within that suburb. So they really lacked, 4 of those, and the biggest one they lacked was market knowledge, right? Local market knowledge. I'm talking about, what is a good price for a dwelling of, their price point, what are the associated trends in the area of prices, what is an investment grade suburb, an investment grade pocket, and an investment grade property. So they actually lacked a lot of this market knowledge. So when you marinate all that together, there's a lot going on there with their situation, right? And we established as part of that consultation that, you're interstate, you're time poor, you have no investment framework, you can't do on the ground due diligence, and you lack local market knowledge. We thought, we can come in and add a lot of value here because we can address all of those things, right? We're on the ground, so we tackle that interstate problem. We have time, we have a team of buyers agents that can go out, research, inspect, and purchase property. We have an investment framework that we use to minimize downside risk and maximize upside potential. We have a due diligence checklist in-house that we follow, which, crosses the T's and dots the I's. And we have, obviously, that local market knowledge. So we're going, this is looking pretty ominous here. I think we could come in and add a lot of value. And then we obviously went through the process of sort of telling them about, you know, our service offering and what that looks like, but we won't get to that. Speak to now is that, yeah, they went through all of this, right? We went through all of this. We established that, you know, they lacked in all of these key areas and that we could have came in and added value. But once we took a deeper dive into it as well, we actually found that it was having a significant cost and impact to them personally, right? And financially. You know, it was a lot of stress associated with, you know, missing out on property, with the ticking time bomb here of their pre-approval. You know, a lot of time they were outlaying, you know, after work hours, during their lunch breaks and on weekends, doing, you know, research and trying to buy property from interstate. So, you know, the combination of stress and time was having, you know, a lot of impact on their personal situation, their well-being. Time is also money as well. If you're spending a lot of time, you know, doing research, doing all of this yourself, you also got to think about, you know, what is your own hourly rate? What is the highest and best use of your time? And if you're spending, you know, the best part of, you know, 4 to 5 hours a day, you know, doing research or trying to buy, then that actually has, you know, a money component attached to it. So you have to really figure out what is the highest and best use of your time as well. And then the money factor as well around, well, you know, for every day that I spend outside of the marketplace, right, the market is moving in a fast and in a really trending north direction. So every month or every week that I spend outside of the marketplace, that is costing me money. You know, I could be making money there, you know, but in addition to that, it's now costing me money because buying the same quality asset in that area is going to cost me slightly more, thousands and thousands of dollars each week, the longer I sit out of the marketplace. And the money component is also attached to, you know, when they were traveling up, you know, they need to book accommodation, they need to book flights into the area, then you need to, you know, get a rental car, you know, all of those things cost money. And if you're doing that multiple times for each property that you've shortlisted or put under contract, that all adds up. So it was having a significant impact on their personal and financial well-being. So as I said before, you know, it's their own prerogative. They decided not to go ahead with the service that we offered, despite, you know, us establishing, you know, pretty easily that we could add a lot of value here, and in fact that they actually really need a buying professional in their corner here to help them purchase. But, you know, good luck to them. They went forward and DIY'd it themselves. The last thing I want to cover off on the opportunity costs, I suppose, that was lost with working with us. So the opportunity cost, we look at it from two different ways, right? What are the risks they could have minimized by working with us? And what's the upside maximization they could have got from working with us, right? So from a risk minimization point of view, if we look at, let's say, the due diligence component, right, we could have mitigated a lot of risk there by using our, you know, robust framework and checklist to do on-ground due diligence at a suburb level, at a pocket level, street and property, to make sure that they get an outperforming asset there. So we could have mitigated a lot of risk there. You know, they might end up in a flood zone, they might buy the wrong building type for the area, they might buy in the wrong part of the suburb, and then they might even buy in the wrong suburb altogether. So we could have minimized a lot of risk there. From an upside potential, you know, we could have made sure that, you know, where they got what we'd call an investment grade property, right? So there's a lot of upside that comes with getting a property that's going to outperform the market, right? A suburb as a whole might grow, you know, 40% over the next, you know, 5 to 7 years. However, relative to that suburb, there's a pocket there where properties grow by, you know, 70 to 80%, right? So if you're, you know, clustered around that pocket, you're going to get an outperformance there. So there's a lot of upside that was lost by working with us and getting our level of perspective and guidance when getting an investment grade asset by following our investment grade framework. Who knows, they might by accident stumble across that pocket and buy the right property, and, you know, kudos to them. But given, you know, their situation, we are in a far more better position to ensure that we pick the right asset for them as opposed to them. So we are way more likely to get the outperforming investment property as opposed to them. So yeah, the opportunity cost is enormous. Simply paying 3 to 5% or 1 to 3% over what we believe is fair value, for a $600,000 purchase. That is a significant amount of money. I'm talking in the vicinity of $10,000 to $30,000 here. They could have easily paid, the wrong price because they don't have the local market knowledge. They don't know what's good value in the area. So there's a lot of upside there lost. And again, an investment grade property performing over the long term just by 2 to 3% more on an annual basis from a growth point of view and from a cash flow point of view. And cumulative cash flows, that's tens of thousands more over the longer term, and then capital growth, that's the best part of hundreds of thousands of dollars more in lost opportunity costs. So yeah, that is the investor story of a couple of clients that never moved forward with our service, but I hope that gives you an indication on how much value we can add to the transaction. So if you feel as though these align with your situation, then reach out and let's have a chat. Thank you guys. I hope this video has been insightful.